And we're live, I think. Looks like it. So, hi, everyone. Welcome to Voron Live. For those of you who have not been a part of one of these before, this is where the Voron team gets together and gets on a live stream. And usually I break something audio related at some point in time. And otherwise, though, we talk Voron and what maybe cool stuff we have up our sleeves for any given point in time. And today we are talking formal wear, which I thought was perhaps overly showing my hand, but other people seem to think it was fitting. So to kind of begin with, one thing we've heard in the past is that people want to know who is where, who is who when you see them on the screen. So if you look under everyone's name, you should see conveniently who they are. But just to kind of go around the horn so people can introduce themselves, we will start up in the top, this corner, whichever corner that is on your screen. The guy in the tuxedo, Mr. Greg A. Nemesis. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Nemagria. I'm the guy that runs the V0 stuff for the most part. So that's what we're here to talk about today.
Awesome.
Which way do I go? That way?
Straight up above me to, one over. Guy in the baseball hat on the recliner. Kylisa?
Is that me?
Yes, that's you.
Oh yeah. Hey, so my handle's Kyle is a H. It's not very intuitive to know how to say it. That's okay. But yeah, I'm just one of the Voron contributors. I do a little bit of stuff to all, or I guess get the CAD file organized. So yeah, and here we are today to talk about it. So.
And now for the guy next to you in the really spiffy necktie.
Hey everybody, I'm Ratslin. I'm also a contributor. I helped out with the manual and also got to kind of test some of the parts and walk through assembly and everything to hopefully put some some use on actually following the instructions. So enjoy.
Awesome. And then under that we have Neo or Maverick or whatever your real name is, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, Maverick. I am basically emotional support for this group. Nice to meet you.
That's such an understatement.
Yeah, you're the one.
Yeah, and which I will be changing out of here shortly because it's really hot.
And then this way, the man whose circuit boards and whatnot probably need no introduction, but he probably does himself, Mr. Hart K 1213, or is it 1213?
Either way works. Either way, I go by Hart K more than anything. So, but yeah, I'm Hart K. I'm on the engineering team on the Voron Discord, so most people know who I am based on my stuff. So, but yeah.
Yeah, they do.
And then one more over is the man with a really awesome beard, Steve.
It's in progress again. It's a great beard. So I'm Steve, member of the Voron design team. I've been doing what I can to help with Voron Zero development for a very long time. So I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome.
So with that, Negrea, you want to take it away?
Absolutely, man. Thank you. So today, yeah, we are pushing the next update to the Voron Zero printer, affectionately now known as the Voron 0.2. So a lot of creativity in that name. Don't fall over yourselves about it. So that's what this is right here. Steve's got one in the back, and I think Hark's got one kind of half on screen there, or maybe all on screen. But yeah, this is the new thing. A lot of stuff's the same, but a lot of stuff is different. I guess we'll start with the first thing that's pretty noticeable, right, when you look at it, is that the top hat is different. We moved to an extrusion-based top hat, away from the printed one. So it does use new panels, but the benefits is that they are all square. They're very easy to cut. And now if you want a taller top hat or a shorter top hat, you just change your extrusion size. All the printed parts are identical. You don't have to worry about trying to get someone with a large printer to print you a unibody top hat. It's rigid, and and it leaves a lot of room for activities up there. The second bit about it is that it is hinged, so it comes on and off very easily, makes it way easy to work on the top of the tool head or back in your AB drives or doing any sort of maintenance on the top of the tool head or the top of the printer is just infinitely easier now that it flips up and down like that. We have some stops on the back of the hinges, so it kind of keeps it, at the workable height, I guess, without bumping into your spool holder back there. And then the other kind of exciting part about the top hat is that when it closes, it actually locks. There's some little cam locks right here, and if you will do me the honor, I can share this little video we got going on here.
You should be.
There we go. That'll kind of demonstrate what happens when you lock or how to open and close the cam locks on the top hat. They're a little 90-degree turn of these printed parts. Locks and they lock onto some button head cap screws that are coming out of the bottom of the extrusions. Locks them on and off. You can see there the hinges on the back that have some stops built in to keep the top hat kind of up in place there. That works really good. It's even just when building it to begin with, the being able to take it on and off is just infinitely better than the old solution. I know a lot of people weren't even using the screws to hold the old one on. They just keep it on and then pull it off and on as they went. Now you can do it both ways, and it works really good. The other bit is that it does lock it down pretty good. I mean, you can give that thing a good lift, and you don't have to worry about it ripping it off or anything. It's pretty sturdy. So that's the new top hat. It's pretty okay. Let's move on, I guess, to the next bit. After the top hat, the other large update to the printer is obviously the tool head.
It's pretty large.
So you can see it here. I think, Hark, you got even a large version there, so we can really get in and see all the details about it. But we'll just start with a kind of a rundown of what changed about that. The first thing is that we've moved to the 20 millimeter pancake stepper motor. I know a lot of people are already using that. It just has better heat management than the older one, and a little bit better torque and whatnot. That wasn't always a huge issue, but beside the point, we're moving to that 20 millimeter motor. We've also redone the whole filament path. This was kind of all piggybacked off of the stealth burner upgrade. We made a lot of changes to the stealth burner tool path. We pulled some of those ideas over into this tool head. The couple of notable ones are that the filament path is not curved anymore at the top. It just comes straight out. It makes assembly and feeding a little bit easier. We've also opened up the hole, essentially the filament path hole that goes all the way through. I know a lot of times people would have to use that 2 millimeter drill bit, clean out the thing, before you could put your tool head together. We haven't really had to do that much anymore. We've opened that up enough to allow it to just print and be functional right away. I also have another little video showing that I can share here. So this should kind of give a little interior look at the filament path. So you can see it just comes straight down the hot end like that, and you can see that right where it exits, where the gears would be, there's these little extra lobes, I guess you could call them. That's taken straight from the stealth burner tool head, and that basically allows you to feed the filament in a lot easier. It'll kind of, like a funnel, right? It catches it and it'll guide it right through, so you don't have to be quite as perfect with how you're trimming and cutting the end of the filament when you feed it in. It makes just filament swaps or general use of the tool head a lot easier. The other thing you could probably see based on this animation here is that the tool head, the pieces that it's, the three pieces, right? The cowling, the mid body, and then the motor plate there. I know on the mini afterburner, you kind of had this motor plate that was mounted permanently to the X carriage. And then you'd kind of have to, like, if you wanted to take your tool head off, you basically had to pull the whole clamshell thing apart, and it kind of spilled over everywhere. You don't have to do that anymore. The whole tool head can be bolted together, taken on and off the printer using the 2 bolts in the front here, the 2 bolts in the front there, and then there's one that comes in through the X carriage from the back. Okay, so those 3 bolts hold the entire tool head to the rest of the printer. And just undoing those 3, you can pull the whole thing on and off. You don't have to split it apart at all anymore. You can keep all the internals in there together. If you need to pull it out and do maintenance, look at it or change a fan or whatever. We've also opened up the side of it here. There's a bigger window in the side, which allows you to, and maybe Hart, this is one where you can show it on your large model, but you can actually see the gears now, right? You can look right in, you can see the filament path, you can see the gears that are in there. So it's really easy to look in and say, oh, my filament's not feeding right, or my gears are misaligned or whatever. It's easy to diagnose those issues without kind of having to essentially take the whole thing apart and understand how it's going to go back together later. You can just look at it and see, hey, I've done something wrong, or no, everything's good, right? So that's really handy. The other large, big upgrade is that the hot end fan is now a 10 millimeter fan. We're back to that thicker hot end fan, able to cool the hot ends, obviously a lot better than the 7 millimeter one. They're also a lot easier to get, right? 10 millimeter fans are a dime a dozen. You can buy them from any supplier that sells fans, basically. So we've had really good luck with that. The other bit that goes with that 10 millimeter fan is, you'll notice here I don't have a hot end in this one, right? And you also might notice that there's no bolt pattern in the bottom of this cowling. And that's because, dissimilar to the Mini AB where each hot end used its own cowling, we've done away with that. Now all of the hot ends that we support right now use the same cowling, and instead they mount into a little mount like this. Different mount for each hot end, and then that hot end mount just slips in from the bottom, and then the 2 front bolts here hold it on. So that allows you to change your hot end out if you need to, without having to pull this whole thing apart to try and get bolts in the top. You don't have to do that anymore. Mounts right up from the bottom. It also means that the length that this PTF, well, that doesn't work good on my black shirt. The length that this PTF tube sticks out the top is the same for every hot end. So you just have to stick it in there, measure that to height, and cut it. And we have a tool for that. There's a whole, Kyle's showing it off right now. It's a nice little jig that makes all that a piece of cake. I can show our other little video here of the hot end mounting. Oh, did that one flip over? There we go. So yeah, you could see the hot end just slips right out the bottom, and you're able. So actually, you could change out your hot end without even taking the tool head off the printer if you really wanted to. That might be a little bit tricky, but I digress. It's possible, and it also, like I said, makes the assembly a lot easier. The other thing it does is it incorporates the fan saver. A lot of people have issues with the blower fans, being susceptible to hot end heat. I think it was, and forgive me if I butcher your Discord username or your GitHub username. I had it written down in my notes here as JPAP, J-A-P-P-A-J. He made the fan saver mod for the Afterburner, and so certainly was the inspiration for us including it in the new mini stealth burner tool head. So that's a big thanks to him for that sort of stuff. The other bit that we've included in here is a lot. There's more room for the 50T Bondtech gear, right? We went through this with the with the regular stealth burner, where depending on who you buy your gears from, there is a surprising amount of variability between how big the drive gear is, how long the whole shaft is, where the 50T is on the shaft. Depending on who you buy it from, there's a lot of variability in that, and that would cause people issues quite frequently on the Mini Afterburner, where they'd put everything together and that gear would rub on one of the printed parts. So we've expanded the gap that gear sits in, so it makes putting it together a lot easier, as well as how I stated before, where you don't have to kind of clamshell it on and off the printer, so you can just put it together. You can see if it's rubbing just in your hand by looking at it, and how it sits there is how it will sit when you're on the printer. Again, just ease of use, ease of assembly, really the big push for most of these upgrades.
So one question that was posed, and I think it's a fair one, is what are the supported hot ends for this setup at launch?
Sure, yeah. So obviously, as you've seen in the animations, the Voron Revo is a supported hot end. We also support the Dragonfly BMO, which is the one that what Fadis makes, and then we have the Dragon hot end, both the Voron edition and the regular one, the same mounting solution for both of those, and this is also available in a high flow version for now. And then the drop effect, and I forget what the name of this company is. Steve, maybe you have better nomenclature for that. This one I believe you sent me. So
I think it was the Omnia drop, maybe.
Omnia drop. Yeah. So it XPG or X something drop effect hot end. Cool little hot end. I haven't actually tried it out yet, but it's got a neat little form factor, and kind of when I saw the shape of it here, we thought, oh wow, that's gonna fit pretty excellent, right in the V0. So we made support for it. And then the last one, which I don't have, it was kind of a late addition, but is the Creality Spider Pro, is a high flow hot end that kind of has this similar kind of cage, design to it. That we support. Those are the 5 hot ends that are available at launch. Obviously, the CAD will be out there soon, and if you want to adapt your crazy hot end to it, by all means. We have a drawing set up that tells you where this needs to mount height-wise and everything, and for making the fan saver things. So that should allow the mod community to go buck wild with whatever they want. A couple other quality of life features that we added to the tool ahead here. There's the guidler that moves the shuttle back and forth. And here I'm talking over my video again. I should show this next one. To kind of show the latch movement here. So we've got the guidler. This is similar to how all the Voron extruders work these days, but you can kind of see there's a small little hole in the guidler that you can see in Hark's cross-sectional video, or sorry, Kyle's cross-sectional video here. That is an extra hole kind of above the top there, and that's just, we've added some hardware, a little self-tapper screw in there to sort of strengthen up. There you go. Yeah, that's a good view of it on your screen up there. We've added a little self-tapper screw there.
You'll share that back off the printed part. Sorry.
Yeah, pull yours back up there. I can stop sharing this video. So yeah, little M2 self-tapper screw goes in there, and that just gives us a little more strength because that thing prints on its side, so it gives us a little more strength in the layer adhesion direction to kind of improve the rigidity of that part, since there is, when you crank down that tensioner screw, there can be a lot of pressure on that part, which will keep it from breaking, essentially. The other, obviously, with the new tool head, it does mount with a new X carriage, printed X carriage, which is a little bit thicker than the old one, so it should be a little more rigid. I just actually got my ADXL sensor set up last night, thanks to some help from some contributors and ran some good graphs and actually had fantastic results in the Y direction, which was kind of one of the spots that people could struggle with that older X carriage. It's a little thinner in certain spots. We've had that beefed up one pinned in the V0 questions channel for quite a while that I know a lot of people use. This one's thicker even than that, so it should really help with rigidity of the tool head moving back and forth. And I know that you fans of the printers for ants will be eager to know a lot of the people actually on this stream are members of some of those communities. I know Maverick it leads the Crucible stuff, and so they have had access to that carriage for quite a while, and they will get your printers with Mini Stealth Burner the moment that STLs are released. They've been working on it behind the scenes for a little while, so the printers for ants people can rest easy knowing that they don't have hours of CAD work in front of them. So the other thing that you might notice, that maybe it's not great on screen here, but the tool head is a little bit wider down by the fans and stuff, kind of to accommodate the stealth aesthetic that we've applied to it, and that kind of extra beef, that wideness in here means that we had to change the tops of the XY joints. So as we're kind of working through the gantry, obviously we have new idlers here, right? So that if you want the cam locks, that's a new printed part. The XY joints are new, and if you can notice, I don't have the end stop block on here anymore, and that is because we are moving to sensorless homing for these printers. So that's kind of the other big update, and the main reason for updating the here I can home my thing. The main reason for updating those XY joints is you can get rid of that screw, and it also helps us. A lot of times people would leave that screw too long, right? And then they would lose Y travel or X travel, or they'd end up with having to bend that lever in the back here to get the gantry to go all the way back. Don't have to worry about that anymore. Sensorless homing is going to bring you all the way to your max travel every time. So you should really hopefully won't have to worry about people not having their full 120 millimeters of travel. So that should work pretty good. There's a couple of really good guides out there. The Clipper guide is information heavy, obviously, as Clipper documentation tends to be. Great member of the community, Clee, has made a focused version of that guide that we'll have links to for setting that up. It's a little more technical, obviously, than a mechanical switch, but I believe in you all. The other thing you might notice as I homed my printer is that it homed down for Z. So we've moved the Z end stop down here to the bottom of the printer and not up at the top anymore. So this has two big benefits. First, when you home, you don't really have to worry about running into a print or something. It's just going to move that bed down, everything out of the way. The second thing is based on how we don't have a probe on this tool head or this bed or anything. Most of the time, you don't. It's small enough bed that probing's not usually worth the trouble. It's easy enough to level as is. And with the end stop at the top, we ended up with kind of a situation where getting the point where the nozzle touches your bed and the point where you trigger that end stop to be close together, honestly kind of a pain in the butt, right? You had the screw that you might have to adjust, or you might have to slide the whole end stop up and down. You don't got to do any of that anymore. It homes to max Z. So basically you have one number in your config, which is the position from where it triggers this switch to where your nozzle hits the bed. That's the only measurement you need to know, and that will give you your first layer. You don't have to worry about a max travel and then a Z calibration offset. It's just one number. And if you want to change it up or down, you can go in your config, you can change it up and down. It's very intuitive, very easy. I have a video kind of showing that too. It's kind of all stuff that talked about here, but if you're unfamiliar with how the old printer homed, this will kind of show it and show the difference. Show that how it's going to Max Z instead. So that's it. Also kind of makes the wire routing a little bit easier for that end stop. It just pops through the deck and goes down to the bottom, down by the board, or to the back of the board. You don't have to kind of loop it up and around the motor panel anymore. That business is done as well. So yeah, I know Steve's been running this ZN step situation for quite a while, about as long as I have. And is it fair to say, Steve, that we were both healthy skeptics to begin with?
Absolutely, and this is the better way to go for the V0.
Yeah,
the tuning,
it's so much
the
better.
configuration window is so much easier to deal with.
And that's the biggest thing. I mean, messing with your first layer height stuff, having to worry about, am I going to run into the end of the travel on that end stop? That's not even an issue anymore. It's completely off the radar now. So that's super nice. Let's see, what do I got next on the list here? Skirts. The skirts are different. If you'll notice down here, these are similar to the Trident skirts, I believe. And forgive me if I've not doled out credit properly, but I believe the first time I saw these was a Discord user, MCM Ben, and I know that he had done a V0 Trident skirts mod, and I know that Maple Leaf Maker had done another one. I'm not exactly sure what CAD was started with. I know Steve did a bunch of work getting some CAD cleaned up and sent over to me with small changes and whatnot, mostly around the inlet back here to get our new skirts working. The other large change, obviously, is the display on the front. It's a normal V0, I suppose a V0 display is what it's called, made by Timmit. The PCB and the plans and everything for that have been out for a while on the hardware repo, but that's incorporated into the skirts now. If you don't want a display, there's a blank skirt piece you can print as well. That should cover all the bases for that. It's also got I don't have it on, but it's got a rear skirt now, so there's not a big empty area in the back. We'll see if Steve and Kyle will spin their printers around for us. There we go.
Mine has an external power supply, so that's why the inlet's weird. But I mean,
sure.
Same inlet.
Steve's got the stock stuff, and Steve's also doing a good job of showing off the first panel change that we made, which is that we've moved to a split rear panel. So I know a lot of us like to just leave this electronics this electronics area open. Having this little extra split piece up here allows us to close off the rest of the build area, keep that chamber nice and warm, but still have access to this electronics area. I have my rest of my back panel sitting around here somewhere. You can bolt it on if you want.
Mine's set up with the split panel, but I don't have I have a very truncated rear panel right now on this printer.
There you go.
And there's also now a bottom panel.
Yep.
Woohoo!
Steve likes.
The next one, we have a bottom panel now. So that's mostly came about from I don't remember the Discord username, but we had a gentleman or a lady, I guess, I'm not sure, open a helping or an engineering ticket with some concerns about the separation of mains power and the ability to accidentally, electrocute yourself to death. So we took some of their suggestions and incorporated them in here. So there's
well, the bottom panel was there already. That was the inlet.
At that point, yes. That person didn't know about that obviously yet because that was our little secret, Steve.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a lot harder to get your fingers caught in the danger bits, which is always good. The last couple things here. So the major, I think we've covered up, at least on the gantry, we've covered that it's, the idlers are new, the XY joints are new, all the panel clips have gotten a little bit of a stealthification, so those are technically new as well. The only parts that we didn't touch were the motor mount, the Z motor mount down here, and then the tensioners and the knobs. The AB housings themselves, we've done a little bit of we removed a couple of bolts. We had that little row of 4 35mm bolts that just seemed like a little bit of overkill, and they were kind of a pain in the butt to line up when you're setting those in there and trying to get 4 bolts aligned. That's needlessly complex. So we removed a couple bolts from there, a little bit of a BOM reduction. We may have added them back in with bolts that we added to the tool head. So it might be a total wash. I know we have a difference BOM worked up, and it is slim. There are not a lot of new parts that you're going to need for this. In fact, I believe it's the 10mm fan right here, the display if you want it, and then a handful of bolts, and obviously extrusions if you'd like to do the extrusion top hat. That basically covers the entirety of the upgrade BOM. The frame is identical. The rails and everything are all the same. There is a little bit of a change to this deck panel, and that's just to accommodate. We've changed the direction that this Z chain goes in, because that was one of the things that people would run into in the manual, is they would forget to attach the chain, and then with this bolt in here facing the inside, you couldn't get to it. So now we've just flipped that chain so it's easier to service and get to. It is not a you don't have to flip it. You can run the entire old setup just fine. That's kind of the beauty of a lot of the upgrades here, is that if you don't want to run the top hat, you don't need new idlers. If you don't want to run this tool head, you don't need new XY joints. The belt path and everything, the motion system is all the same. So you can really piecemeal the upgrades as you like them. Or go beyond what the stock upgrades are. I have the Kirigami bed in here. That's a really common one, and it works with all. You don't need any other new things besides their specific stuff for that. You can really piecemeal your upgrade however you see fit. Whatever things you want to add or don't want to add, go for it. The other huge undertaking with this printer was the assembly manual. All the guys that you see on stream here put in a ton of work into our new assembly manual. I believe the old manual was about 160 pages in length. The new manual adds a little over 80 more pages of images, direction, and a ton more text to help people through the build. I've put out forum posts or talk to people that have raised GitHub issues specifically around manual things, and I believe we have covered everything that the community has brought up. So mostly it's thanks to you guys in the community for pointing out, hey, this part of your manual sucks, and this part is hard, and this part needs more clarification. We heard you, and we made all the changes that we thought made sense, and even some extra ones that go beyond that. We've had a couple of people build through using the new manual already that have added even more, to on top of that, to kind of bring that to the next level as far as guiding you guys through the build. So that I'm excited for you guys to see that. That stuff should be really cool. I think, maybe I'll talk about, if you're wondering, where can I get these extrusions? How am I going to get, we have told the vendors about all of these upgrades quite a while ago, a few weeks
2-3 weeks ago.
They are prepared. They know this stuff is coming. I know that LDO is working on top hat kits that they will send out to their suppliers soon. So if you want to match your colors, don't worry. You can also do like what me and most of the people on this stream here did, is we cut up a frame kit, so that you can get about two 2 top hats, maybe 3 top hats out of a frame kit. So it's if you've got the means, it's a nice little way to help out your fellow builder if you get to that point. So
Yeah, as you see that, me and Steve both have gold frames.
yeah,
I had a second frame kit, cut mine, his and Eddie's up. So
there you go. And I think I think I sent the rest of this space gray kit over to Dave, so he's got a space gray top hat in the mail as well. So I think that mostly covers, kind of. Oh, I guess the other bit that I skipped over is that you can maybe see now is that my tool head does have LEDs in it. So those are kind of a late addition to the tool heads. They're not really covered in the manual or any of the documentation, but the provisions for LEDs are in there if you'd like to go down that path, and you can find your way around wiring up a single LED. I know that Timmett, of course, has gone sequin crazy with it, or NeoPixel crazy with it, and I think he was working on some RGB ones to go in there, but I'm not sure where the update is on that. That's his little pet project. You know how Timmett gets with NeoPixels. So.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
I have a quick thing, if you don't mind. Just want to point out, so everybody sees this extrusion top hat, and that's something that anybody out there is not going to have immediately or might not. The old top hat still fits.
Yep.
You can build the rest of this and then add the top hat later if you wanted to get started on this. The only thing is you wouldn't put those cam locks in the front.
Right.
You would add those later if you went to the top hat.
And I know that I believe it was Kyle above me or to the left. I don't know where he is now. On my screen, he's above me. I know that he was just this morning had the CAD open for the old unibody top hat and incorporating the hinges in the back. So I know that's something that Steve had brought up about wanting to make support for. So we were kind of leaving that a little bit to the pseudo mod community to get that going, just to kind of keep the decision tree of STLs on the GitHub a little more focused for new builders. But a unibody hinged top hat that has the cam locks and everything that's printable is I'm sure it'll be out there very soon. So, and as far as the rest of the STLs and the rest of the GitHub, our plan hopefully is to have everything pushed out by the end of this weekend. When we're done with this stream, that's where I'm going, is to start organizing the push to GitHub. We have most of that stuff staged and ready to go, so there's very little work that has to be done yet to get all that stuff out. So it should be a relatively quick release schedule from this point. So I guess with that, if anyone else has some comments or if we want to grab some questions from the
I wanted to bring up one thing just with the electronics compartment.
Sure.
The mounting is a little bit different in there now, so.
I skipped over your bit. That's at the end of my notes here. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah. So we used to have the electronics just VHB to the back panel, and that made things a little bit hard to work on if you wanted to move something around or something like that. So originally we wanted to have a DIN clip or a DIN rail rather in the back of the printer. But there was some concerns that were raised about if you had an accessory mounted to the top of your Raspberry Pi, like some kind of power inlet hat or a power over Ethernet hat, something like that. And that would cause your electronics to not fit with the back panel on. So
Sure.
One thing that was decided was to make these little printable DIN cleats is kind of the name they got. And there's even a little geometry here to kind of help you cut the tape the right size and everything. And then that just sticks to your panel and it clips your any of your DIN mounted electronics right on there. It should make it a lot easier to move things around and kind of get things the way you want it.
Sure.
So yeah.
The other couple of things that Hark has reminded me of here is that we do have a Voron version of the Stealth Burner tool head. There you go, Maverick. He's got it up. So if you are a fan of the Bowden, we have a tool head that incorporates the 10 millimeter fan for you, as well as the same. It uses the exact same fan saver hot end mounts, so you don't got to print new ones of those. It also uses the exact same X carriage, so you don't have to change out that bit. It's just pull those 3 bolts out and put the new tool head on, and you're off and running. So that's a super exciting upgrade. I know we've kind of lagged behind the Bowden game since V0.0, so there's been a couple people that have poked me and asked for, hey, when are we going to get a Bowden version of the Mini Afterburner? Well, we just skipped it and we went straight to Mini Stealth for the Bowden.
There you go.
So that's the answer for that one. The other thing is that we do have. I don't know if I have mine sitting around here because I just did it last night, but we do have also ADXL mounts. Let's see, Hark, you're showing it off there. Center that thing on your camera a little bit. There we go. So they mount to the back. There's a plate. There's a plate kind of on the back of the tool head here that does all the strain relief and helps with the wire routing. And the ADXL mounts right to the back of that. So if you want to, automatically tune your input shaper, you can do that with ADXL mounts. I believe you, Maverick, you made mounts for all. Nice stop that. You made mounts for all these same boards that we currently support on the Stealth Burner. So any of the any of the bolt patterns that are available for Stealth Burner, we have mounts for those same center to center distances between those holes.
That's right.
So that's also going to be available at launch, which is pretty awesome. I never did input shaper before. Ran it last night and pretty happy with my graphs. So yeah.
So I copied some questions down that went along as they were going through. You want me to read off a few of those?
Yeah, sure. Hit me.
Yeah. So you mentioned that the 20 millimeter motor was going to be the new spec. Support for the 17 millimeter motor is still good, right?
Yeah. You just have a bigger gap back here, or I guess if you want to print off, because this uses the same. I don't have a good way to show it on my tool head on the board. So this uses the same spacers, right? Like a lot of people use on the tool head to go to tool head boards or whatever. So if you want a 3 millimeter shorter motor, you can make yourself some 3 millimeter shorter spacers, or you can just deal with a bigger gap. Whatever. Nothing about the 20 millimeter to 17 millimeter, it conflicts. You can use both if you want. We've just, like I said, the BOM will point to that 20 millimeter motor number now, and that will be like the recommendation for people that are supplying kits or trying to source on their own. If you can get that 20 millimeter, it's definitely worth it. If you want to continue to use your 17 and you're fully happy with it, no qualms about that either.
Yeah, I'm using a 17 on mine, and yeah, that's good. In the toolhead section, a couple questions on sensor support and Rage Rabbit carrot feeder support. I'll let you take your reply.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a good point. I had this in my something I was going to talk about before, and I'll kind of just pull apart my toolhead a little bit while I'm getting to it. But one of the things that we did on the Mini Afterburner was a lot of like that whole mid body part was like skeletonized, and it was lots of negative space, right? Lots of trying to pull down weight on it. Well, it turns out that when you do all those skeletonizing, you end up with a lot more perimeters, and perimeters are heavy, and so the weight of your tool head that you're trying to save actually doesn't save you any weight at all. So I threw this on my scale back there. I think it was a couple days ago, and it was actually about 5 grams lighter than the full setup from Mini Afterburner. Most of that might have been the Revo tool head versus the Dragon tool head, but I'm going to pretend that it was our brilliant modeling. So you can see the mid body here is all solid. There's some little pockets here that just, you know, help you kind of clip it together, right? Similar to how the RCF does a lot of his parts where they snap together real good. So if you guys want to jam your sensor right into this upper area, be my guest. There should be room for all the activities that you want in there. Like I said, CAD will be available, and I know you guys do wild stuff that I never even imagined.
Okay, good. And then kind of a group related to the rail size and carriage for the X rail.
Sure.
And then along with that, XY joints and AB drives. Maybe just go over that one more time, please, just on the, you know, the spec hardware and any changes there.
I think, I'm sorry. I think part of what he's getting at is it's all MGN7 right now. We haven't done like we did for the 2.4 MGN12s, bumped the X carriage to a different size and spec than what has previously been used. Is that fair from what you've seen, Rastlin?
Yes.
Yeah, so we did not, like I said, all the motion components are the same from the old V0.1. So the rails are the same size, the belt path is the same, the bearings are all the same. I do know that some of the people in this thread, especially because they're involved with those printers for ants that use 9C rails, they will have you covered if you'd like a 9C on your X. I know that they're taking care of that, but the stock and official GitHub repo will have the MGN7 stuff. I know a lot of people will go, oh, well, what about the looseness of that X rail or whatever? If you get a medium preload rail, that slop is not there. Like you really got to get good rails. That's the biggest thing. A lot of times it's not so much the larger rail that's helping people. It's just that when they buy a 9C, they're getting a better quality fit than what certain vendors supply with the MGN7. And that's usually what's causing your improvements, not so much the change in physical size. So yeah, I know I bought I had an old one sitting around here that had a little bit of play in it. I mean, very minimal, but once you get that down to the tool head, it amplifies it. So I bought a medium preload rail. I forget from who, somewhere local because I needed it now. But yeah, it's all about getting that good X rail. If you have a sloppy X rail, you can build the tool head great, and you're gonna probably be disappointed with that function there.
Yeah. Okay, good. And there's two more questions here that I had. I don't think you specifically talked about it, but it came up in the chat. Could you talk about the Sequin and vendors and potential incorporation of that for folks that want to do that?
Yeah. So that was one of the major. If you get a look at the manual, you'll notice that we don't cover the Sequin wiring, the LED wiring in the manual, and the main reason for that is because when I first put those on, they're actually based around these little LED boards from Adafruit called Sequins, and obviously Adafruit is a U.S. supplier, so telling people that, hey, the LEDs in here and you have to buy them from this one vendor that sells them, that's not something that we like to do. We don't like to lock people in to a single vendor. Adafruit does have those PCBs for these Sequins. They do have a GitHub where they release all this stuff, so you can get them made yourself. But that was one of the main reasons why the provisions are there. It's very easy to add. I'm sure a lot of people will add them, but the official documentation and stuff will just have you building a normal tool head. There's wiring paths. There's all sorts of stuff ready to go in that tool head back there. But the Adafruit Sequins it was just a supplier limitation. We try to not lock people into a single supplier or lock people into a a supplier that's located only in one country. There's a boatload of Germans that hang out on the Voron Discord, and we don't want to leave them out. So.
question I've seen posed is asking about different extruders and can boards, or tool head boards in general, I guess. And
Sure.
I'll kind of at least answer this from my understanding and how I see things. The layout and form factor of how things bolt up at the back for where the motors and everything else are didn't change. So if it was compatible mounting up for tool headboards and whatnot with a 0.1, it will be forward compatible to a 0.2 without any major changes needed or anything like that. So if you have a can board, tool headboard, or whatever that was built for a 0.1, it will be forward compatible to the 0.2. Is that fair?
That's fair to say. I'm actually me and Steve both are using we're not using a can board, but we're using the pancake board, which is a very early, it just uses the, I don't know, 11 wires, 12, something like that.
14.
Coming off the top. But yeah, that tool head board, I'm still using that. I know Steve's using it.
I got a can board on mine as well. So
you got a can board on yours. There you go. So the only caveat that with that is that the ADXL mounts that we made for the back, you might have to make some spacers, or you might have to get a little creative when you mount that. I know I had to add a little bit of I had to put on a couple extra nuts as spacers to get that sitting out there so it cleared my tool headboard. Those are built, the ADXL mounts that we're releasing are built around working with the stock tool head. So that would be the only thing that you'd have to kind of navigate, which, if you're running a can tool headboard, you're smarter than the ADXL mount. So you're good to go.
Both have them built in anyway, so.
Yeah. And then the question on non-stealth burner extruders, or non-clockwork, I guess is the proper name, extruders with this hot end. I know there were some people running an LGX Lite on 0.1s. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's going to be the Magic Man Maverick in the bottom here. He is. I've been holding his Crucible tool head hostage for a good while now.
For a minute.
some background info just to bring you guys up to speed, because I know he's a new face for a lot of people. But Maverick, I don't know, you DM'd me or something, and he showed off his LGX Lite tool head that he had made for his Crucible, and the aesthetic and like the stealth burner, look of it, which is really awesome. And I said, hey man, do you mind sending me that CAD so that I can essentially take the LGX tool head that you built and un-LGXify it, right? Add in our normal, printed extruder things. And he was gracious enough to allow me to do that, and in the meantime hold off on releasing his LGX toolhead until today. So he has LGX Lite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, LGX Lite toolhead that basically has the LGX kind of mounts in the back. If you had a picture of it or something, I'm sure you'll post some stuff over on your Doom server.
I just put a picture in the QA chat on Discord.
There you go. Yeah. So you guys can see what he's been holding on to for a while. So it's a pretty neat looking tool head. And if you're in love with that LGX Lite, you go for it. Otherwise, as far as other extruders, if you can mount, if you can adapt it to the new X carriage, it'll work, right?
Yes.
So the mods community is always 3 steps ahead of everyone else, right?
Question I've seen posed, wondering about the cooling capabilities of 0.2 versus 0.1. And I know you were talking in our pre-stream about there being...
There's obviously not as much room as in the Stealth Burner toolhead, right?
The stream is frozen. Maybe it's back now.
It should be better now. OBS
looks like it just came back.
Yeah.
How much did we miss? Where do I get back up to?
All the way.
To the beginning.
Even before the special announcement?
No, when we first started.
No, I think it was just a good, basically start back over from
again.
CFD.
It's dying again.
Yeah,
right.
Give me 1 second. I don't know what's eating stuff. If you guys would bear with us, and for once, this is not my fault. In terms of me breaking audio, this is OBS just being cranky.
We don't know that yet.
Hold, please.
There's some people with some DraftKings bets on the audio issues that are cheering right now because they just hit the over,
Yeah.
You said for once it's not your fault, but you did say we weren't going to have problems before the stream.
We shouldn't have problems, is what I said. So, yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen OBS just like read out on stream quality. So, I think we're good now. Maybe. Famous last words.
Looks
So
okay so
let's
far.
talk about CFD again.
All right, yeah. So CFD. We're still using the 10 millimeter blower fans, and that's just a space requirement, right? There's only so much room from the front of this panel to where the X carriage is. There's not room for 40 millimeter ones to still have wires go behind it, and then also have printed material. There's some modded tool heads out there that use crazy fans and stuff, but we're sticking with this setup right here. So I did get a hold of Bad Noob after he was done doing a lot of the CFD for Stealth Burner, and some of the things they learned when they were doing some of the fluid dynamic stuff on that tool head and try and apply it to this new tool head here. The biggest one being that instead of both of the ducts coming parallel to each other and meeting at the tool head, we've angled them a bit so that instead of the air flowing and fast air from the left hitting fast air from the right and ending up with sort of a dead zone in the middle right at the tool head, which would be where you want the not dead zone to be. We've angled those backwards a little bit. Hart's doing a great job of showing off kind of how the ducts are angled there, and that actually gains us, I believe it was about 4 or 5 meters per second increase in speed for the air right at the nozzle tip from the old setup. So it's not a. People have asked, all right, well, compared to the jump from afterburner to stealth burner, that was a pretty good jump in cooling. Obviously, they have a lot bigger fans and a lot more room to work with, so the jump isn't quite that big. It's not crazy, but it is better. We did look at that, and we did try to focus some energy on improving that cooling as best we can. If you're going to print PLA, you still probably got to do it with the door open and the top hat off. Okay, you can't cook the stuff in there. It's just there's only so much speed that you can have with fans of that size and the space that we're working with, right? We didn't want to change the frame and make people buy new frames. We didn't want to lose X or Y travel. So those were some of the design goals that we just weren't going to compromise for the upgrades. So if we can work within that and do as good as we can on improving the cooling, that's what we try to do, with the new tool head. Let's see, I think someone threw some stuff on my thing here, but I've lost my, oh, it's up here.
Hey, can I just interject real quick? I saw a couple of people ask about the Rapido.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we tried. We tried to do a mount for the Rapido. It's just too tall. So without modifying the cowling itself.
So the Rapido tool head is almost exactly from the nozzle to this top surface. It's almost exactly that tall. And the problem is, obviously, you need some amount of plastic up here to put screws through. So with this cowling, keep falling out. With this cowling, the one that supports all the other hot ends, there's just not enough room to fit the Rapido in there. However, like I said, CAD is going to be available. If you want to stretch this tool head down and then stick the Rapido in there with a mount, totally doable. You'll lose a little bit of Z, but you get your crazy banana flow hot end. So that one is one that we tried to fit it in stock, but it just, with a whole new cowling and a whole new mount, it's just one of those things again where we're trying to keep the flow chart of what LTLs do I have to print, obvious, right? When you get on the disk or when you get on the GitHub, you don't want to be like, well, do I need this one and that? What combination do I put? trying to limit some of that confusion. So I'm 100% sure that someone will mod that tool head to fit a Rapido, and I welcome it. Go for it. Load it to the user mods. Point people towards it. That's an awesome hot end. Which also brings up the other bit that I almost forgot about, but that I'll show off, is that we, I have it closed now too. Now I gotta go. Do you have it open, Maverick, or no?
Don't. Hold on.
Oh, I got it up here.
Got it.
Give me 1 second. There it is. So that's something that I noticed a lot. We'd get questions where people would say, well, what parts do I need to print? Or which ones, or which part is this? Or what parts can I print out of PLA? What parts can I, there's a lot of those questions. And most of the time, people would link over to one of Doc's PIF lists. And a lot of times those PIF lists are very directed towards just the PIF suppliers, right? What they need to know for getting these kits out to people. Maybe a little bit different than what, your general builder would need. So we put together a spreadsheet here, and if I can share it, let's see if I can do this here. So yeah, we put together this spreadsheet that shows you all of the parts, right? We got a picture of all the parts, every printed part that'll be in the GitHub repo. We've got where they're used, right? The group, these are gantry parts, how many of them you got to print. And again, this is all stuff that's, shown off in the name of the file, but for people that maybe missed that bit in the manual or whatever, we've made it real easy here. We've also shown you which ones the PIF will include, right? If you're getting a PIF kit, this part is included, this part is included, this one's not included, right? So you know what stuff that you're going to be responsible for, and you can check off, all right, I printed this one, you know what I mean? Click it, go for it. You'll have to download a copy, obviously, of this spreadsheet once we push it. And then we've also listed where it's used in the manual, right? So this part shows up on page 70, page 76, page 109, and page 111. So if you're looking at a page in the manual and you don't know what that part is, maybe you missed its label, or you're just, well, what is this? I can't find it, or what's the file name for this part? You can jump here and you can find that. We also list the recommended materials for each one, for each part. So if you get to the bottom of this document, you'll see that the panel clips show that they can be printed in, you can print panel clips in PLA, or you can print your skirts in PLA if you want to. We still recommend ABS for everything. That's what they're modeled around. But if you don't want to print that and you're happy with a PLA skirt or panel clip, go for it. We'll also be filling in this directory bit once the STLs are on GitHub. So you'll be able to go to this document, click on the link, and it'll bring you right to the GitHub for that specific part. So if you're just missing one tensioner, or you broke a cam lock or whatever, you just click on it, download that STL and keep on moving. So that was a bunch of work that Maverick and the guys put in to get this nice spreadsheet set up that people will be able to download and have a local copy, and you can mark stuff off or do whatever you want with it. But a good list of keeping track of what you got.
Yeah, good.
See.
We're gonna come up with a couple more questions so that Steve's cube can finish here.
Yep. About halfway
Someone
through.
asked about. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that cube's about halfway through, so keep the questions coming.
Oh, someone just on the YouTube asked about tap support, and no, there's the boop, which is coming for the printer variants that works with Min Stealth Burner, but it's not going to work on a V0.
Yeah, so you just sped over that stuff pretty quick there, Hark. So I'll help fill it in. There's a group of people on the Discord that are doing, I believe, what that user is asking about adapting tap to the Mini Stealth Burner toolhead, and they've affectionately nicknamed the project Boop. So they are doing that. However, the big caveat with that is that it's not compatible with the V0. So it's compatible with some of the other printers for ANTS printers, like the Micron, things like that have more room in the Y direction, right? Because that's going to thicken up the carriage and the back of the tool head considerably. So you'd lose a bunch of travel on the V0 and incompatible gantry stuff. So yes, there is something like that, but not really for the V0. It's mostly centered around these little printer for ants offshoot printers. I know that that Hark's got one, you know, that he's kind of
right there.
right there. So, but like I said, those are not compatible right now with V0. I don't believe that there's plans to make it compatible with that. I think they're sticking mostly to those other printer types where there's just more room to accommodate you know, probing situations like that, and where it's effective, right? With the cantilever bed, when you're probing the front of that with forceful probing, you're not going to. I mean, all that great work that Bad New with them did to find a sensor that's so repeatable, you'll just throw it out the window with the cantilever bed, because it's not gonna. You're gonna have too much error in there. So you really need a bed that's supported, you know, 3-4 spots, whatever, so that you have that rigidity to, you know, get good measurements, right?
I think a lot of it greatly relies on the X-rail being front mounted versus top mounted, like it is on the V0.
Sure.
Yeah, so.
There's a question. Go ahead,
Steve.
Doc.
I was going to say
there.
Go ahead, Steve.
There is a question. I think probably we're going to say the same thing, but Maria, can you elaborate on what changes rely on other changes? What can you do without doing the whole thing?
Right. Well, I'll start with the opposite of your question. Okay, what ones require other changes? Okay, if you want to switch to the stealth burner tool head, you obviously need a new X carriage. That will kind of make that all one unit that you would have to upgrade. And in order to maintain the full travel in X, you would have to change the tops of your XY joints, right? Those shortened up by 1 millimeter to gain us the full, to make sure that we maintained the full travel this way. But those two right there are kind of tied together, right? If you want the tool head with the same amount of travel as before, you need to upgrade the tops too. I think that's the only thing that are tied together. If you don't want to go sensorless, you might run into some more issues, right? Because there's no end stop mount on the new tool head, right? There's no, let's see, it would have been over here, right? There's no little clicky spot on the carriage, right? So you probably have to, if you want this tool head, you'll have to jump into the sensorless pool, and I believe in you. You can do it. I can do it. And I suck with Linux, and I suck with coding and all that. I'm a mechanical guy. I model. That's what I do, and I still got it done. You can too.
Sensorless works great on the V0.
It does work really good. It's a lot better than it was a couple of years ago. Clipper has made a bunch of updates that make it really easy to do. The only kind of caveat that I'll add to that is that it's sensitive. So if you change if you mess with these knobs back here and you change the tightness of your belt, or you change, the run current of your motors, you got to retune your sensorless, right? All of those things affect the force that stall guard is sent. The signal that stall guard is sending to your drivers. So if you're tweaking any of that stuff, you got to redo the sensorless homing. But once you kind of get the hang of, like, all right, here's the number I'm changing and here's the test I run and blah 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 blah, it's not that bad. You just have to know that sensorless is the last thing in all of that chain that you have to do, because everything else above it will affect it, right?
Good. You're probably about to say what I was going to comment
the rest
on.
of it. Most of the other stuff, I guess the top head, if you want the cam locking, obviously you need the new idlers with cams, right? If you want the new skirts, those are just, those don't affect anything else. You can still use your old deck panel if you want to, right? You just have to make that Z chain go the other way, which is fine. Again, it doesn't limit you for anything. You can actually still use the ZN stop at max with all, that could be the only thing you upgrade and it was still totally fine, right? I think that mostly covers. The other cool thing about the skirts that I forgot to mention, they're a little bit taller, right? So that the printer sits a little higher off the ground, which gives one nice little benefit is that the motor that you can use for Z, there's now a lot more options because the Prusa guys use a motor with a T8 lead screw attached to it. There's a little bit longer, but that's how I did my first one actually, is I cut down a Prusa lead screw to get mine. But you can use, they have a thicker motor, right? And with the skirts being taller, there's no room for that thicker motor down there. So if you want more power in the Z, or you want to use that thicker motor, there's room for it. It fits. It just opens up the sourcing a little bit. I know there's some people around the world right now with that whole, was it Austria? I don't know. Maybe you guys were on last night. They're getting the shaft right now as far as importing new parts. So making more options is always better for everyone in the community, I think. So yeah, it is really an a la carte upgrade situation. You know, there's not many of the things are tied to other things, right? You can really piecemeal what you do and don't want.
Let's see.
Was that your same question, Doc?
Yeah, I was just going to comment that if you wanted the extrusion top hat, you need the front idlers replaced, and then the hinges and everything else.
And I guess, you know, you can use the top hat without the cam locks, and you know, it'll still go. You know what I mean?
Gravity is your friend.
Yeah.
It'll stay down.
just don't pick it up. Just don't pick it up and try and carry it away, right?
Along those same lines, I stepped away for a second, but the question was asked: is the configurator going to be updated and the whole launch point on the Voron Design website? Did you cover that?
Oh, I did not yet, but yes, it will. I'm probably going to have to court the help of Kilobit or someone that's a little bit better with the website GitHub stuff to get that set up. But I have all the stuff for that ready to go. I just need to give it to the proper people to put it in the proper place. So that's what I'll be doing for the rest of the day mostly, and tomorrow is getting all that release stuff ready to go. Like I said, we're staged and we're set up. It's not like we have a ton of work to do yet. We you know, that as you can see, Hark's got functioning printers back there, and Steve's been running his for a while. So we've been testing and running and setting up and getting ready for today for the last couple months here. So
yeah, and
that should all be coming relatively quickly.
We're going to work towards this, but it is a coordinated effort between people across the globe in different time zones,
right?
Different people that can push different buttons.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And making sure that I don't
push the wrong button.
Yeah, make a PR request and then overwrite the entire repo. You know. Also,
I like how you mentioned I have functional printers because that's rare.
You got all four of them right now.
I know. It's rare that they're all functional.
Yes. No,
so I wanted to mention
it gets a little tricky when you're trying to upload 100 megabyte CAD files to GitHub. It
right.
It doesn't always love those big files.
Yep. So I think we did a good job in the manual of demonstrating or the instructions for assembling the tool head. But do we want to mention, so I watched this video from So I Says this morning. It was just fantastic how he blew it up.
Also known as Maple Leaf Maker.
That guy.
One of the same.
Guy. Great job. I mean, that was fantastic.
Amazing.
But yeah, especially for new builders, I think it would be highly beneficial to kind of go check that out.
Yeah, I think our plan, and I haven't okayed this with him yet, but maybe I'll put him on the spot as far as middle of the stream, is that we're probably going to link to that right in the README on the toolhead the README of the toolhead repo GitHub. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You guys understand it, but he did a great job of printing off a what is it, like it's like 3x scale or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's bigger than this.
It's bigger than yours. It's enormous. But he printed off a giant version of the Mini SB and then did a video of the assembly that really is quite fantastic. And,
it's fully 3D printed. The screws, the motor, everything is 3D printed. It's amazing.
Yeah, so that was a cool little bit. And kind of stack onto that. a lot of these things that went into getting this printer going were from these contributor people, right? I know a lot of times people get all, like, oh, it's just the dev team and no one else. And no, we get help from these guys all the time, and a lot of it in the background that maybe doesn't always go recognized. So I really just do want to say thank you again. I know I've said it a million times to you guys in our own chats, but just publicly here, I want to say thank you for helping get this thing, across the finish line, because it doesn't happen on its own. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it, a lot of hours that people put in, that they volunteer to make these printers available for everyone, and I'm just blown away. So again, thank you.
It was a lot of fun. I look forward to the next one.
That's right. Absolutely.
There you go. We have approval from Maple Leaf. So.
All right, let's see. I'm trying to bounce between Discord and here to see if there are any more questions.
Yeah, so it looks like someone in the chat just asked about sealing of the door to the top hat. So basically it's just the door goes to the top of the printer, right? So the level of the door is even with the level of this, and the level of this top hat panel is also even with the level of that. So there isn't any type of seal here. But I mean, when I close mine up, I get, man, maybe a half millimeter out at the end here where it droops a little bit just from the weight. So it seals up pretty good. I'm still getting 55C chamber temps just from the bed heater alone. So if you want more than that, we do have panel clips that have an extra millimeter of space for if you want to use VHB. Right now, it's all set up in the manual where none of the panel clips use VHB except for the front door ones, obviously, because they don't have bolts. But I know some people like the VHB. They like to be able to pull the panel off fully and have the clips stay on it. So those are available, right? What you can do if you want is use the panel clips that are 1 millimeter thicker, and instead of using VHB, you can put foam in there or whatever to seal up your chamber even more. The world is your oyster. Go to town. So that we have two versions of the panel clips available: the stock ones that are 3 millimeter, and the extra, the 4 millimeter ones that are just a little bit thicker. Which kind of is a nice segue into the next bit. Is that all of the panels now are spec'd at 3 millimeters, no longer a hodgepodge of 2 millimeter or 2.5 or 3. It's all 3 millimeter. So the top hat panels are 3 millimeter. These are 3 millimeter. The deck, the back, all that, the bottom, it's all 3 millimeter. Whatever material you'd like, 3 millimeters thick. So it should make things a little bit easier on some of the vendors as far as raw material stuff and being able to source from different places. And Keith, you're muted right now, so if you're going to ask a question, you got to unmute yourself.
No, but I was just going to say thanks for covering that. I think that was.
So,
right on.
So the printer printing right now without any of the foam tape or anything is at a 58C chamber temp.
There you go, 58. That's pretty good.
Are your electronics staying cool?
And that is that's measured at the picobilical board at the back of the chamber.
That's a great subtle hint that Kyle just brought in there too. So a lot of times when you buy these 10 millimeter fans, that 10 millimeter 24 volt fan, I picked mine up off Amazon. You can really get them from anywhere. There's a couple of vendors that have some just balls to the wall ones that are like 7 cubic feet per minute, flow rate that are just insane. I'm sure they'll be advertising those, but a lot of times they come in 2-packs. And one of the things that Steve brought up, why he leaves his back panel off a lot, is that he would run into temperature issues on his pie. Getting too hot, or you get the warning or whatever, Steve, right?
Yeah, the overtemp warning.
Overtemp warning there. So we've added a same fan that's in the hot end, this 10 millimeter 30 or 10 millimeter thick 30 by 30 fan. We've added one in the back that just blows up onto to just get some air moving over the electronics. to help keep those cool. It wasn't a major issue. I know some people experienced it, some people didn't. But hopefully, just getting some air moving around in there will make that a moot point for everyone. So that's covered in the manual as far as where that mounts and hooking up and everything. It's pretty simple little clamp mount that I think I stole from Maverick's handles. For
you
one
can
of the,
slide
one
it
of the
around, right? I
printers.
think it's pretty easy to move.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it just mounts to the back, mounts to this back rail, in the back here, right? So you can slide it left and right wherever you match it up with your electronics, however you have them. I know that there's a wide range of MCUs that people throw into these things. I know that we have personally set up 3 or 4, or maybe it's 4 or 5 stock configurations. So that'll be available on release. So if you don't know what you need to add for sensorless homing, or you don't know what you need to add for your specific board, right? We have, I think it's support for, and actually I can just pull it up and then I don't have to guess, right? And I can just tell you what the support is.
And while you're pulling that up, one question I've seen asked once or twice that I'll go ahead and address just to keep it simple. There will be an upgrade bomb from 0.1 to 0.2 published. That we've got that created, we've got it ready to go. It'll get pushed at the same time everything else does. If you've heard us mention the term a differential bomb, that's what we're talking about. The proper term is a differential bomb, but upgrade bomb, 0.1 to 0.2 bomb, whatever you want to call it, yes, it will be it will be available for people who already have a 0.1 in play.
And that'll be on the website, right? Similar to how it was for 0.0 to 0.1. You'll click on the configure, give me the upgrade bomb, right? That just uses a JSON file that's not awesome to read as a human. So instead of doing the work twice, we just made it in the JSON file. We're gonna upload it to the website. That's where you'll be able to see it, and it'll show up nice. So as far as boards that we support at launch, that we will have a v0.2 config. This will cover homing to Zmax. It'll have stuff in there for sensorless homing that you can uncomment and set up. So we have the Pico, SKR Pico. We have the SKR Mini E3 V3, the SKR Mini E3 V2, the SKR 3 EZ, the Mellow Fly Gemini, and then the Manta M4P. So those are the boards, and I think that should cover the majority of the kit people. Like when you get a kit, I know that LDO is going to be switching to the Pico coming soon. I believe right now they ship with the Mini E3 V3. So we don't worry if you have a kit and you're like, oh, I just spent all this money and now it's no. You're supported, and the upgrade path is painless and very simple. There's even some great little notes in the build manual where we've called out to you, right? Hey, if you have a kit, this is a spot where you're probably going to want to deviate, or where you're going to have to do something maybe slightly different. So we've covered you, and we hear you. We're trying to make things as pain-free as possible for those people that don't want to go down the self-sourced path.
Yeah. So. Our goal always is to never change things just for the sake of changing things, and also not to obsolete something unless it absolutely positively can't be supported as a part of our future efforts. Right. So we try and give people the opportunity to reuse as much as possible, so that, once again, you're not stuck, having to buy new stuff at all. I mean, if you really wanted to be contrarian and old school, I'm pretty sure you could get a V0 running on a ramps board. So, I mean, if someone wants to live life on hard mode, have at it.
Yeah, not a lot of motors in this guy. You can lots of options there for that. Let's see.
Speaking of motors, did we? I know we have. I can't remember. Do we have anything for Pocket Watch, or is that still going to stay the same?
Right now, as of today, Pocket Watch does not have an update, but I know that Maverick's got his Space Mouse flying around over there the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And
Giving it a little bit of an update.
and
Just kind of one of those things where it's a little less popular, but now that we have a Bowden toolhead, we should probably be updating Pocket Watch. It's got its own repo, so it won't delay any of the V02 stuff coming out, and it'll probably just be a GitHub push, not a giant Voron Live or anything. It's a pretty niche.
so, for those of you who are wondering, when you hear us talk about clockwork, pocket watch, and things like that, our extruders are typically using a watch in their name, or watch related is the code name for them. So Pocket Watch is the mini Bowden extruder that V0, the original V0, used.
There's some pieces of it, right? Just a little Bowden extruder there that uses the same motor, the same pancake motor.
Yep.
But, it's getting a little bit of a cosmetic update, and
Steve
Soon.
went off.
I was working on it this morning, so.
and then we had to pull you away.
Yeah, for the stem stream.
There will not be, the question was asked if there was going to be a dual Bowden head. That, if the community feels like that would be of worth, they can certainly add it. That was not a priority for release and launch for this unit at this time.
Yeah, and kind of to tie back in, I know a lot of the Enraged Rabbit carrot feeder people might be looking at that Bowden toolhead with with licking their chops, right? Like, go for it. Again, CAD will be available. That's probably a great one. There's a lot of space, there's a lot of nothing in the top of the Bowden toolhead, so you can add sensors or filament runout, this and that, and get your enraged carrot rabbit. I don't know.
ERCF.
Actually,
Your Easter
if I'm not mistaken, you don't need a filament sensor anymore. You can actually use the stall guard of the extruder or of the motor to sense when the filament needs to be loaded or something like that.
Yeah, I apologize. I've been pretty involved with the V02, but I don't
I wonder why.
a lot with the ERCF people, but they're a smart bunch, and if you want to run a dual extrusion setup on your V0, I'm sure they can. I'm sure they'd be happy to help you through it. I know Steve's toolhead that he's showing off right there has got a little bit of a multicolor print. I believe that those are all manual swap. They're just swapping color in the middle of a print.
For now.
For now, yeah.
For now.
Yeah, you can tune into Steve's stream tomorrow and watch him try and get that IDEX Trident running tomorrow. He's having quite the time with that. Him and Eddie going bananas over there. So, yeah, I think a couple people showed off some dual color cowlings yesterday or maybe the day before in one of the channels. So there's
dual color
there you go. Got it on your display too. Yeah, we all it'll be the same as with Mini AB, right? So we have a cowling that just has the logo, with extruded cuts on it, and then we have a version that has the solid bodies in there. So if you want to do a multicolor print, you can use that STL, and you don't have to do any sort of funky combining or making your own CAD thing. That stuff's out there, or will be out there, and make it easy for you. So that's a pretty cool looking tool head. I kind of wish that mine kind of have to reprint mine with the gray logo, because it does look pretty good.
Yeah.
There you go, Hart. Show off. Oh, that looks good. Yes, there will be a ping in the announcements channel when the GitHub stuff goes. Otherwise, I believe you can, what is it? If you star the GitHub, or you can follow it, and then you'll get an email or something. I don't remember how that specifically works.
Yeah, that implies being far more savvy with GitHub than I actually am.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the target is the end of this weekend. And no, I'm not defining which time zone the weekend is ending in to give us a little bit more wiggle room. By the end of the weekend, it should be released.
So
Should
yeah,
be.
Should.
yeah. To kind of give you a rundown of the plan here, right? So I have all the STLs and the STLs and the manual and everything that you would normally see on the GitHub file structure. That's all ready to go. We'll update that. That'll probably happen first because it's the easiest, right? Just push that, and then we'll probably move to getting the website sorted out, and then lastly it'll be uploading the CAD because that just takes a extra finagling because I have to do it through GitHub Desktop because the file's so big and it's just kind of a pain in the ass. So that'll be the last bit that goes up once I can get that stuff sorted out. I could push them now, but I don't know how to create a new branch for the new thing. So yes, I can very quickly push them, but I don't know how.
In
So
the
once
same
that
boat.
is made, I can pull request the shit out of it. But until then, I need someone with a smarter keyboard than mine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, basically, we have all of this ready to go. The big thing is just getting the right people with the right permissions at the right time to push the right buttons to do the things.
Yep,
So
yep.
you may see it kind of appear piecemeal, like the STLs and the PDF manual might appear, and then the CAD will show up, and then everything else. Just because it takes different people to pull different levers. We've got safety and sanity checks built into our process, which is a good thing, but also it dependent on multiple people who may not be on the same time zone or same side of the planet as other people. So, long story short, we say the end of the weekend because multiple hands are going to be at this, but we're as excited to get this in your hands as you are to get it. We're not trying to dangle this as a carrot out in front of you and say, oh, by the way, you'll get this whenever we feel like it. We want this in your hands because we're really excited about it. If you came to Murph or Earth and saw the V0s there that looked rather different than what you'd seen with the V0 previously, this was probably the most public release we've done in terms of people seeing what the close to finished product was before it was released to the wild.
For sure.
I had them at both events.
Yeah, Steve had his running. I think Timmett had a pretty extensively modded V02 as well.
Pretty bright.
The Disco V02.
Yeah, the disco ball.
Something I saw, I don't know if this is a question I missed or whatever, about wire routing in the toolhead. I agree. That was a little bit of a pain point in Mini Afterburner. We've widened up these wire routing paths significantly, so you don't need these little shoestring wire. You can the normal wires that come with fans fit through it nice and easy now. It's not so much jam it in there and hope they don't bust sort of situation.
Yeah,
so
you shouldn't have nearly as many problems as you used to.
Yeah.
So
we also added a couple little features, little detent features to the bottom here that keep the fans in. I know sometimes that people would have them, they'd start sliding out the back a little bit. So thanks to Steve's persistence, we've added these little detents here that hold the fans in. They snap in, quite satisfying.
Right there.
So
yeah.
The question was asked, since we were talking about Rep Rap festivals, if anyone will be at the Sanjay Mortimer Rep Rap Festival in Oxford, December 1st through 3rd, in Oxford, United Kingdom of 2023. And the answer is hell yes. I know I'm going to be there for absolute certain. Several other people I have encouraged to also attend. I mean, for us here in the States, trips across the pond are maybe not the easiest thing, but we have a very dedicated crew over in Europe and everything else who I'm sure will be gracing us with their appearance in Oxford. And if it's possible at all for you guys in the community, please consider coming to the Sanjay Mortimer Rep Rap Festival in Oxford, United Kingdom, December 1st through 3rd, 2023. I'm sorry, 2nd through 3rd, 2023. It will be a phenomenal time. Through the grapevine, I've heard there's going to be some really, really cool stuff shown off. Even, just having been announced just recently, there are so many people in the community who Sanjay had impacted their lives that they want to do something to give back as a part of this, and use the opportunity to show off stuff that they feel he would have thought was the coolest stuff ever, because he was one of us guys. He was someone passionate about this. So yes, we'll be there. I encourage you, if possible, to be there, and I'll shut up on that.
Yeah, I know a bunch of us are also planning to be at the Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Festival, right in Kyle's backyard there. So if you're around that area, come say hi. It's always nice to meet people in the community and put a face to a name, right?
We're getting close to this print finishing, but I saw a question early on. Was there anything that you didn't include in this release that you might have thought about and that you did?
I think maybe the biggest one would just be the Kirigami bed, right? That's a really popular mod, and basically it toes the line between what the Voron ethos essentially is where you're buying off the shelf parts, and all the custom parts are the printed parts, right? You're buying things like bearings or a motor or screws, not custom machined or custom formed parts, right? So while it is widely available, right, there's hundreds of AliExpress stores selling it. There's lots of vendors that have a hold of them. It still does, in our opinion, kind of fall on the not an off-the-shelf component side of that line. But obviously, as you can see, I'm running one. I'm very happy with it. So it's not like it's a shunned mod or anything. We did make some updates to the bed printed parts, right? They're a little more stealthified, and we changed kind of how the Z-chain mounts, but sort of the whole shape of the whole system that the old extrusion bed uses is still relatively the same. That does bring up another great point, is that in order to get that 10 millimeter fan into here, we did have to move the position of the hot end back by about 3 millimeters, right? We don't just get free space and not in the V0 tool head. It's all used up. So if you want some from there, you got to take some from somewhere else. So we did move that back, which means that the position of your bed technically would have to shift 3 millimeters. Now the Kirigami beds have oval holes built into that, because I got a hold of Chris very early in the development of this and said, hey, can you make that change to your part? Because it looks like they're going to start proliferating all over the community, and it would be great to not have to have a V1 and V2 of their bed. So you're already covered if you have that. If you have the old bed, you can do something as simple as pull your sheet forward 2 millimeters and you're good to go. Or you can print out the new bed mounts and they relocate the bed perfectly for you. Or if you're using a bed that is larger than 120, right? You've got that 125 by 125 that a lot of people use. You're covered as well. Try to not leave out any people, right? Anyone that has built a printer, we would try to make sure that you're taken care of.
All right, let's see. We are trying to stall to get to the cube finishing. I'm trying, but we're running out of questions.
It's at 98%.
Steve, just bump up that speed factor a little bit.
Yeah, come on,
minutes.
man.
It's like 2 minutes. Come on, you can talk.
Steve's got a cool mod that's in screen right now on his printer for at least a couple more layers, where he's got that illuminated bed front that I believe is also Maple Leaf Maker, courtesy of him. So if you think that looks neat and you're going with that Kirigami bed, be sure to head over to his GitHub and show him some love, because that's a pretty sweet.
Here we go. It's doing tops.
Little situation he's got right there.
So, question of what is the pathway to deciding what needs a revision? And I think what I'll say is from the perspective of the guy on the team who plays the evil end user, it's usually there are a lot of things that happen because someone on our team, myself or anyone else, gets to building one and then like sends the designer a DM saying, "Hey man, nothing personal, but this really could be easier, better, simpler, whatever." And they start kind of collecting those nag lists and then start ideating based on that. Is that fair, Steve and
That
Greg?
that's 100%. When the community, a lot of us are around the community and we see the comments that come through, right? We're not in there, maybe not in there chatting all the time, but like I see all the help tickets that open up or all the people that are in the V0 questions channel that are putting together this tool head and go, I can't feed the filament. It won't feed through. You know what I mean? I see those comments come up, months, and I go, okay, this is something we have to address. And part of it is just making sure that you're not going off, running off with just, oh, I got to fix this now because one person said something, right? It's like, all right, we see a pattern. We see a consistent issue that people are running into. What is the issue? Make sure that we have the root cause, right? We're doing some root cause analysis. We're not just, a lot of times people will say, oh, I had this issue and I did this and it fixed it, so that was the problem. When maybe that's not necessarily the case, right? Maybe what they changed had, secondary things that happened that also helped solve it, right? So it's about getting to that root cause, figuring out what the actual issue is, and then what can we do to make it, to fix it or to mitigate it, right? And then those things usually are what push the design stuff forward, right? For this one, the biggest one was just, especially on the tool head, was that the filament path thing. I helped out an awesome gentleman at Murph, and I'm blanking on his name.
Alex,
what?
Right?
Alex, yes. Alex. I helped out Alex. His goal was to build the printer in the 2 days of Murph, right, on the floor, and he ran into issues at the tool head. Same issues that I see pop up on the Discord all of the time. And I knew right away. I said, oh, I know what this is. I know how to fix it. Went over there, helped him out. But just seeing, someone that I can tell, right, like, all right, he knows his way around these Allen wrenches, right? He's not someone that's never built stuff before. But even he ran into this issue. So what can we do to change that and make it easier for people that are that I would call experienced builders that are still running into these small snags. And so that was one of the biggest things for fixing the filament path and then making this easier to take on and off without disassembling the entire thing, right? You don't have to pull this thing apart and catch parts as they fall out and can't tip it. No. You just pull it off and you can work on it and then stick it back on. You don't have to undo your belts or any of that crap, to change off your tool head. It should make that stuff a lot easier. And on top of that, that goes into upgrades that we made to the manual, right? There's a lot of steps in the old manual that are implied steps or things that maybe we as the designers see as obvious, right? Like, of course people will do this. That's how you do it, right? And kind of as we move through it, and as you guys open GitHub issues and you point stuff out, or you make us aware of, hey, here's where people are, here's the pitfalls that people are falling into. I think we've done a really good job of shoring a lot of that up in the manual and in the design. That it's going to be interesting to see the first wave of GitHub issues that come to see where we can maybe the little things that we miss here and there. I'm sure we'll have an STL that's upside down or something. And there always seems to be one. And then some spelling and grammar stuff in the manual, I'm sure. But I know just from the feedback that we've gotten from a lot of the contributors and a couple of the other people on the dev team that are working through the manual on an actual build, is that they've been pretty happy with the improvements that we've made. So
the ease of building mini stealth burner makes this completely worth it. it is so much better than Mini Afterburner. People are going to really like that.
Yeah, I freely admit to having a V0.1 that is literally sitting 99% finished, and all that I have left to do is the tool head. And I started on that. I was like, yeah, no, I'll get around to that, and I just haven't. So I'm a horrible, horrible member of the team. So I will take my lumps there, but I will be building one of these for myself. And actually, I'll be helping my brother-in-law and my little brother be building one of these too.
Right on.
Yeah, I'll say on the mini stealth burner, I built one, with just the CAD when it was first available to me, and used it for a couple months. But then when the manual started being developed, I completely rebuilt it and followed the steps. And if you follow that, it really gives you a lot of the little, like, oh, here's the designer's intent, and here's what you really need to check, and it's running, even smoother, now after following that. So, yeah, I think it's really, really a great improvement.
Boils down to this guy that it makes such a huge difference having this adjustability right there. And that was in mini Afterburner, but not a lot of people knew about that adjustment being there for your backlash.
Yeah. That whole step is not even in the old manual, right?
Yeah, and that's why I didn't like my V01.
Setting backlash and everything is just something that we kind of like. Well, people that know how to build extruders know that you got to do that, right? And it's not the case, right? A lot of times you have your blinders on, right? And so getting that outside feedback is critical. So again, and it's covered in the manual in the beginning of all the Voron manuals. If you do find an issue, or you do find something that you think is wrong or can be improved, please feel free to open a GitHub issue. That is the most direct and best way to get your problem heard and addressed, because if you just throw it into a channel on Discord or even in a forum post, it's kind of whoever gets to it, or maybe they see it, maybe they don't. We do actively look at the Discord issues or at the GitHub issues when they pop up, and discuss them and assign them and stuff like that. So that should be where you should go if you have one of those issues that you run into. One of the changes.
Very effective.
One of the changes that we made for this manual is that we built it in actually just in Google Slides. So it's really easy for anyone that you see on this screen to go into there, make a quick edit, right? Oh, we missed a period, someone misspelled, thread locker, whatever, right? It's really easy to make that update, kick out a new PDF, and upload it to the GitHub. You don't have to have those sorts of issues that sometimes stack up on the other repos because the manuals are harder for people to edit. The InDesign ones probably look a little bit nicer and they have a little bit more polish on them, just because the publishing software is what it is, right? It's industry level software. We're not doing that, but I think that collaborative ability. Collaborative ability. Yeah, that's a twister right there. That should make kind of keeping things up to date and addressed as far as the V0 repo. I think that'll help us out as a community. So I'm excited to see how that workflow transitions going forward. And now the cube is done, so everyone get off and
Okay, bye.
Yeah, the cube is done, but before we wrap up, anyone on the team anyone have any final parting words or anything they want to put out there for the community or anyone else? Bueller.
Just as far as an inspirational word, I just thought it was really awesome to get to work with the team and to see everyone's skills like rise up and grow just in the last couple months to get to where we were. It's amazing just this community that we're all a part of and what everyone can do and learn when they put their mind to it. Thank you.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I found a lot of things I wasn't even aware I was really good at. I guess I'm pretty decent at making renders, and those ended up in the manual. So, it's pretty cool. It was nice to have the opportunity for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, Leon's listening. He wasn't able to join us for the stream, but he did an awesome job of adding some fun little artwork to the build manual to kind of, jazz up the this page intentionally left blank pages. So
yeah, he's really great.
There's some fun little illustrations in there for you guys to see later.
So,
There,
go ahead, Steve.
I was just gonna say there's so much to this release. I haven't even seen all of it that you showed today, and I just wanted to say I'm impressed with the group that's come together, and the extra little things, the printed parts guide, stuff like that, is just elevating the game, really. So I'm going to definitely. I think we all are going to be looking at this for future releases and try to keep this level of standard going forward. So good job. And the anybody out there who hasn't built a V0, it may be a small printer, but it is a workhorse. And you can set it up. I mean, the print you saw today, mine running, is not plaid fast, whatever, but that is a good speed to get a good quality print when you just need a little part. Quick heat up, quick output.
Yeah.
Quick results.
That's been a lot of the feedback that I get, from people, even there's people in general chat and not necessarily VOC members and stuff like that, is that they go, I wasn't sure I was going to use it a ton, but it seems to be the one that I turn to first when I'm just like Steve said, I just need one more panel clip, or I just broke this or that, or I just need to print this off to test if my screw hole fits, correctly, or if this thing, it's such a great, fast little printer for those small jobs, and you do the big ones on your big printer, and you do your big plates, and but just doing that quick prototype stuff, having a small one-off printer to do that has been what I've heard from people as feedback, is that's what they really love. So.
And this truly is an improvement here. I've built 5 of these now, of all different versions, and that's not including rebuilds. And I've built 2 of these now at this version, and it is definitely a better assembly process.
Yeah, I think that's the oh, we lost a bunch of people on the network. Maybe that's my internet.
Yeah, that's you, Nimgrea.
Oh no! I just set up a mesh network in my house, so this is the first time it's gotten to stretch its legs.
But yeah, so with the release being done, the cube being done, I think we're done for the day. So thank you everyone for sharing the afternoon with us. It's been phenomenal, and we look forward to you guys building this. We look forward to hearing what you guys think and seeing what you do with this, because it's not just us putting this out into the universe in a vacuum. We do this because we think it's cool, and we do this to enable you guys to do cool things. So do cool stuff and show us the cool stuff you're doing with it to help inspire us and other people to do cool stuff. So
you never know where it might end up.
Absolutely. By the way, last thing I'll end with, I know for a fact there is a Voron on 6 of the 7 continents. I've seen like orders going to as far as South Africa and different parts of Asia, India, all corners of the world. But if any of y'all know anyone in Antarctica, let us know. I'd love to figure out a way to get a penguin of Voron somehow, just so we can have one on all 7 continents. So, just saying. And by the way, also, if any of you guys are buddies with Elon, I'd love to get a Voron on SpaceX. Just a Voron cube even. So, if you know somebody, let us know. But with that, in all seriousness, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for the phenomenal team who've done all of this. I'm just lucky enough to be the guy who gets to sit here and kind of foster discussion, but these guys are the ones who did the hard work, and bravo to them. Thank you to everyone else, and y'all have a great night.
Night.
Yep.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank y'all.